The day I became invisible. My name is Elena Carter. Today, people say my name with respect. Some say it with fear. Some whisper it like a warning. But there was a time when my own family treated that name like it meant nothing. I was born into wealth, but I grew up poor in love. My father, Richard Carter, built one of New York's fastest-growing real estate empires. My mother, Margaret Carter, was known in high society circles, charity galas, designer dresses, polite smiles that never reached her eyes. And then there was my younger brother, Daniel Carter. He was everything they wanted. I was everything they tolerated. Childhood. Loved on conditions. From the beginning, the difference was clear. When Daniel took his first steps, my parents threw a party. When I won my first academic award, my mother said, "Don't let it get to your head." When Daniel failed a math test, they hired a tutor and hugged him. When I scored top of my class, my father said, "That's expected." Love in our house wasn't unconditional. It was earned. And no matter how hard I tried, Daniel always started 10 steps ahead. I learned early to stay quiet, to not complain, to smile when it hurt, because girls who speak too much are called difficult. Becoming useful. By the time I was 18, I understood the rules. If I wanted respect, I needed leverage. So I worked. I graduated high school at the top of my class, earned a scholarship, completed my MBA with honors, without asking my father for help. When I finally joined Carter Holdings, I didn't want special treatment. I wanted to prove I belonged. I started at the bottom. Small desk. Long hours. No title worth mentioning. But I delivered results. I closed deals others failed to. I fixed problems quietly, efficiently. Clients asked for me by name. Within 3 years, I was outperforming executives twice my age. Daniel showed up late. Delegated everything. Failed upward. Yet somehow, every success presentation ended with his name. The office promise. One afternoon, my father called me into his office. He didn't smile often, so when he did, my heart lifted. "Elena," he said, "you've done impressive work." Those words meant more to me than any bonus. "We're opening a new downtown branch," he continued. "I want you to manage it." I froze. My own office. My own team. My first real leadership role. I nodded calmly, but inside I was breaking apart with joy. That night, alone in my apartment, I cried. Not because of the office, but because for the first time I felt seen. My mother's smile. 3 days later, my mother asked me to sit down with her. She wore white. She always wore white when she was about to destroy something. "I heard about the downtown office," she said lightly. "Yes," I replied. Dad approved it. She sipped her tea. Paused. "Daniel needs that office." I laughed softly, thinking she was joking. She wasn't. "Elena," she said, tilting her head, "you're good at supporting roles. Daniel is the face of the company." "I earned that position," I said. "I built the proposal." She smiled. That cold, practiced smile. "I spoke to your father." My chest tightened. "The decision has changed," she continued. "You'll be reassigned." "To where?" I asked. She didn't answer immediately. Then she said it. "You can work in the basement." The basement. No windows. Flickering lights. Outdated files. They moved my desk next to broken furniture and unused storage. People avoided eye contact. No announcement. No explanation. Just silence. When Daniel walked past me that day, wearing a new suit, he smirked. "Thanks for warming it up for me," he said. I looked up at him and smiled. "Good luck," I replied. That smile confused him. But it was the moment something inside me hardened. "Don't come home tonight." The next morning, my phone rang. It was my mother. "Don't come home tonight," she said. I thought she meant the family house. "I don't live there," I replied calmly. There was a pause. "We've cut off your cards," she said. "Your apartment is under the company. It's no longer yours." I stopped breathing. "You're overreacting," she added. "You can stay with a friend. This will teach you humility." Humility. After everything I gave them. I whispered, "Okay." And the line went dead.
Erased.
That day I lost. Asterisk my job title. Asterisk my apartment. Asterisk my access to family accounts. Asterisk my place in the Carter name. By evening, I had one suitcase and $237 in cash. No apology. No explanation. Only silence. As I stood on the sidewalk, New York glowing around me, I realized something terrifying and freeing at the same time. They didn't think I would survive without them. They were wrong. The promise I made myself. That night, I slept on a friend's couch. I stared at the ceiling and made myself a promise. I would never beg them. I would never explain myself. I would never ask for my place back. One day, they would hear my name again. And when they did, it wouldn't be as their daughter. It would be as their biggest regret, sleeping on floors, learning power. The first thing people don't tell you about losing everything is how quiet the world becomes. No notifications. No meetings. No one asking for your opinion. Just silence. I woke up on Rachel's couch at 5:17 a.m. She was my college friend. Kind, practical, already late for work. Stay as long as you need, she'd said the night before. But I knew what as long as you need really meant. 3 days. Maybe 4. After that, kindness starts to feel heavy. Day 1. Reality hits. I check my phone. No missed calls. No messages. Not from my parents. Not from Daniel. Not from anyone at Carter Holdings. I had been erased efficiently. I opened my banking app. Account balance, $237.42. No credit cards. No savings. No safety net. I laughed softly. 25 years of loyalty, reduced to spare change. Job hunting with a hidden name. By 8 a.m., I was on Rachel's small kitchen table with my laptop. Resume open. And then it hit me. My last name. Carter. The name that opened doors for others had become a liability for me. If my family found out I was applying somewhere, they could block it. Call in favors. Close doors quietly. So I edited my resume. Elena C. No last name. No family connections. Just results. I sent out 37 applications that day. Entry-level roles. Analyst positions. Even internships I was technically overqualified for. I didn't care. I just needed a start. The first rejection. By afternoon, the rejection started coming in. Overqualified. Not a cultural fit. We've decided to move forward with other candidates. One email hurt more than the rest. A mid-sized real estate firm downtown. The HR rep called me personally. You're impressive, she said. But someone higher up recognized your name. We can't proceed. My stomach dropped. Recognized. Even without my last name. I thanked her politely and hung up. So this was how it would be. Invisible, but still watched. Night thoughts. That night, I lay awake on the couch. Rachel was asleep in her room. The city hummed outside. I thought about my mother's face.
Calm.
Controlled.
Certain.
She believed suffering would break me. I clenched my fists. She had no idea what she had created. The unexpected call. On the 4th day, my phone rang. Unknown number. Hello. I answered. Elena, a man's voice said. This is Mark Sullivan from Hudson and Rowe Consulting. My heart skipped. We received your resume, he continued. I wanted to speak before HR makes a decision. I braced myself. I'm not calling to reject you, he said. I'm calling because I think you're hiding. I swallowed. Excuse me? You've done senior level work, he said. But you're applying for junior roles. Why? I considered lying. Instead, I told him the truth without names. I left a powerful company, I said. I need a place where results matter more than politics. There was a pause. Then he said, come in tomorrow. 7 a.m. Hudson and Rowe. The office wasn't fancy. No marble floors. No ego-filled reception. Just glass walls, focused people, and quiet intensity. Mark Sullivan turned out to be direct, sharp-eyed, and allergic to nonsense. He didn't ask about my family. He asked about my numbers, my strategies, my failures. After 2 hours, he leaned back. "You're not staying in junior roles," he said. "I can offer you a 6-month contract. Performance-based. No titles. No promises." I nodded immediately. "I'll take it." He smiled slightly. "Good. We start now." The first test. That afternoon, he dropped a file on my desk. A failing commercial redevelopment project. Millions on the line. Client furious. Timeline impossible. "Fix it," he said. "No budget increases." I stayed late. Then later. Then all night. I analyzed contracts, renegotiated terms, identified one hidden clause everyone had missed. By morning, I had a plan. 2 weeks later, the client signed off. Project saved. Mark didn't congratulate me. He just said, "Again." Sleeping on floors. Rachel's couch wasn't available anymore. Her cousin needed it. I told her I'd figure something out. For 2 weeks, I slept. Asterisk on office floors. Asterisk in a 24-hour gym locker room. Asterisk once in my car. I showered at work. Ate cheap food. Saved every dollar. No one knew. No one needed to. The call from home. On week 5, my mother called. I stared at the screen for a long time before answering. "Elena," she said, "are you done with this little experiment?" I said nothing. "Your father is willing to let you come back," she continued, "if you apologize." I smiled. "No," I said. Silence. "You're making a mistake," she warned. "So did you?" I replied. I hung up. My hands were shaking. But not from fear. From clarity. The promotion no one announced. 3 months into my contract, something changed. People started asking for my opinion. Meetings paused when I spoke. One morning, my access card opened a different floor. Mark stood there. "We're launching a private investment arm," he said. "I want you to run the analysis team." "No title?" I asked. He shook his head. "No spotlight. Just power." I accepted. The first win. 6 months after sleeping on floors, I made my first real money. A percentage of a deal I structured quietly. Enough to rent a small studio. Enough to breathe. I stood in my empty apartment that night and laughed. Not because it was big, but because it was mine. The news I didn't expect. One evening, while scrolling absent-mindedly, I saw a headline. Carter Holdings announces aggressive expansion. Faces internal challenges. Internal challenges. I knew that language. I leaned back. For the first time, I wasn't afraid of my past catching up to me. I was ready for it. Because this time, I wasn't walking back in as a daughter. I was walking in as competition. The quiet entry. Power doesn't announce itself. It enters rooms quietly, sits in corners, and listens. That was my advantage. I wasn't trying to be seen anymore. I was trying to understand, watching from the outside. Hudson and Rowe's new investment arm operated under the radar. No press releases. No flashy LinkedIn posts. Just quiet capital and surgical moves. My job wasn't to lead meetings. My job was to read people. To know when a CEO was lying. When a balance sheet was hiding a wound. When desperation smelled stronger than confidence. That's when I saw it. Carter Holdings had a fracture. Not public. Not obvious. But real. The weak spot no one noticed. Carter Holdings had grown fast. Too fast. They were expanding into mixed-use developments, luxury apartments over retail spaces, across 3 states. On paper, it looked brilliant. In reality, they were over-leveraged. Their cash flow depended on one private lender. A silent partner. A man whose name never appeared in headlines. Jonathan Hale. The name that made me pause. I stared at the file when I saw it. Jonathan Hale. I knew that name. Not personally, but professionally. He was known in quiet circles as a kingmaker. He didn't buy companies. He didn't run them. He owned their oxygen. 1 loan default, and he took equity. 2 defaults, and he took control. Carter Holdings had borrowed from him 3 times. The 3rd loan had a clause. A dangerous one. If Carter Holdings missed 1 interest payment, Hale could call an immediate review. And during that review, He could restructure ownership. Legally. Brutally. I kept my mouth shut. Mark trusted me. But I didn't bring this to him immediately. Revenge doesn't rush. It waits. Instead, I asked for permission to analyze adjacent assets. Retail developments. Parking structures. Secondary holdings. Mark raised an eyebrow. You're circling something, he said. I'm mapping, I replied. He nodded. That was his way of saying go ahead. The meeting that changed everything. 2 weeks later, Hudson and Rowe received a request. A private meeting. From Jonathan Hale. I almost smiled. Mark called me into his office. You know this guy? He asked. Not personally, I said. But I know how he thinks. Then you're coming, Mark said. Jonathan Hale. He was older than I expected. Late 50s. Silver hair. Eyes that never wasted a blink. He didn't shake my hand. He assessed it. You're not here by accident, he said calmly. No, I replied. I'm here because I'm useful. That earned a faint smile. We spoke for 2 hours. About market risk. Interest rate pressure. Overconfident family-owned firms. He never mentioned Carter Holdings. Neither did I. But it hovered between us. Finally, he leaned back. If I wanted to pressure a company quietly, he asked, where would you start? I answered without hesitation. Their pride, I said. Then their timelines. He nodded slowly. Good. The offer. 2 days later, Hale made an offer to Hudson and Rowe. A joint acquisition. Target. A struggling commercial strip Carter Holdings relied on for cash flow. If we bought it, Carter Holdings would lose rental income they desperately needed. Still legal. Still clean. Just inconvenient. Mark looked at me. Thoughts? I met his eyes. We buy, I said. The first move. The deal closed in 9 days. No press. No noise. Just signatures. Within a week, Carter Holdings missed a minor interest payment. Not enough to panic the public. Enough to wake Jonathan Hale. He triggered the review clause. Inside Carter Holdings, alarms went off. Emergency meetings. Late nights. And for the first time, they didn't know who was watching. Daniel panics. Through quiet channels, I heard stories. Daniel was scrambling, blaming teams, shouting in meetings, making promises he couldn't keep. My mother stepped in, tried to smooth things socially. But money doesn't care about social status. Money cares about leverage. The invitation. Then came the email. Private strategy dinner. Hosted by Jonathan Hale. Invite list. Select stakeholders and advisors. Hudson and Rowe was invited. And so was I. I stared at the screen for a long time. This would be my first time in the same room as my family since the night they erased me. Mark noticed. You don't have to go, he said. I do, I replied, preparing the mask. I didn't want revenge to show on my face. So I practiced neutrality. I chose a simple black dress. No logos. No statements. Power doesn't dress loudly. It dresses precisely. The dinner. The restaurant overlooked the city. Glass walls. Soft lighting. Carter Holdings executives arrived first. My mother looked unchanged. Poised. Controlled. Daniel looked thinner. Tired. When I walked in beside Mark, my mother's smile froze. Just for a second. Daniel's glass stopped halfway to his lips. But no one said my name. Jonathan Hale greeted everyone personally. When he reached me, he paused. Elena, he said calmly. Glad you could make it. My mother's face drained of color. The moment they realized. Dinner progressed politely. Market talk. Economic forecasts. Then Jonathan set his fork down. Let's discuss exposure, he said. Silence followed. Charts appeared. Carter Holdings' debt structure laid bare. Daniel tried to speak. Jonathan raised a hand. Elena, he said, walk us through the risk. Every eye turned to me. I stood. Not as a daughter. Not as an employee. But as an analyst with authority. I explained calmly. Numbers. Timelines. Consequences. No emotion. When I finished, the room was quiet. My mother finally spoke. Elena, she said carefully, We should talk. I looked at her. About business? I asked.
No, she said.
About family? I tilted my head. I don't mix the two, I replied. The first crack. After dinner, Jonathan pulled me aside. You don't hate them, he observed. I don't need to, I said. I just need to be accurate. He studied me. Good, he said. Because accuracy is expensive. The warning. As I left, Daniel caught up to me near the elevator. Why are you doing this? He whispered. I looked at him. I'm not doing anything to you, I said calmly. I'm just not saving you anymore.
The doors closed.
And for the first time, they understood. I wasn't coming back. I was moving forward, and they were standing directly in my path. When control slips, power reveals people, not when they have it, but when they feel it slipping away. The morning after the dinner. Inside Carter Holdings, panic wore expensive suits. Emails flew before sunrise. Emergency meetings stacked back to back. Lawyers were suddenly very busy. But no one had answers. Because the threat wasn't loud. It was precise. Jonathan Hale hadn't attacked them. He had exposed them. And exposure is worse. Daniel tries to be a leader. Daniel called an all-hands meeting. He stood at the head of the table, shoulders tense, voice louder than necessary. We're restructuring timelines, he said. This is under control. No one believed him. People asked real questions. Cash flow gaps. Loan covenants. Delayed projects. Daniel deflected. Blamed market conditions. Used words he didn't fully understand. For the first time, his charm failed him. My mother breaks pattern. Margaret Carter didn't attend that meeting. She was busy doing what she did best. Calling people. Old friends. Charity board members. Political contacts. Trying to apply social pressure to a financial problem. It didn't work. By noon, she realized something terrifying. She wasn't in control anymore. The call I expected. My phone rang at 2:14 p.m. Unknown number. I answered. Elena, my mother said, her voice calm but brittle. We need to talk. I'm working, I replied. This is important. So is my work. Silence. Then, carefully, you don't need to do this. I leaned back in my chair. I'm not doing anything, I said. I'm just not protecting you anymore. Her breath caught. You're hurting your family. I smiled slightly. No, I said. I'm letting the truth hurt you. Mark notices the shift. Mark Sullivan watched everything quietly. You're the center of gravity now, he said one evening. I don't want to be, I replied. Doesn't matter, he said. They're orbiting you. He slid a new file across the desk. Carter Holdings. Secondary assets. One stood out. A private medical complex. Quietly owned. Never advertised. If this goes, Mark said, they bleed. I studied the numbers. I already knew the answer. The second move. We didn't buy it. We did something better. We paused it. Zoning review. Environmental audit. Permit delay. All legal. All slow. Time is the most expensive currency. Carter Holdings didn't have any left. The first public crack. 2 weeks later, a rumor leaked. Carter Holdings delays flagship project. Stock didn't crash. But investors noticed. Confidence wavered. That was enough. Dinner at the Carter house. That night, my father called. Elena, he said quietly. Come home. Not please.
Not sorry.
Just command. I don't live there, I replied.
We're family, he said.
I closed my eyes. You made that conditional, I said. And conditions expired. He hung up. Margaret loses her temper. 3 days later, my mother showed up unannounced at Hudson and Row.
Security called me.
She says she's your mother. I exhaled. Send her up. Margaret Carter entered my office like she still owned it. You've gone too far, she snapped. I gestured to the chair.
She didn't sit.
You're humiliating us. I met her eyes. You taught me humiliation, I said. I just learned to monetize it. Her mask cracked. For years, she said sharply, I protected this family. No, I replied calmly. You protected Daniel. Silence. Then, you were never strong enough for this world, she said. I stood. And yet, I said softly, here I am, and you're asking me to stop. The ultimatum. She leaned forward. If you continue, she said, you'll destroy everything your father built. I nodded. Then maybe he should have built it without destroying me. She left without another word. Jonathan Hale's test. That evening, Jonathan Hale called. You're pushing, he said. Yes. Why? I didn't answer immediately. Because, I said finally, they only understand consequences. He laughed quietly. Good, he said. Then let's see how far you'll go. The choice. He offered me something dangerous. A direct role. Not advisor. Not analyst. Decision maker. If I accepted, there would be no going back. I thought about the basement office. The cut cards. The night on the couch. I accept, I said. The shift in power. The next morning, Carter Holdings received notice. A formal review. Leadership credibility. Asset viability. Management competence. This time, it wasn't anonymous. It had my signature. Daniel Breaks. Daniel called me that night. His voice was shaking. What do you want? He asked. I closed my eyes. I wanted a family, I said. You made that impossible. Silence. Now, I continued. I want honesty. And you don't have any left. He whispered my name. I ended the call. The calm before collapse. I stood by my apartment window, watching the city. This wasn't rage. This wasn't revenge fueled by anger. This was alignment. For the first time, my past and present were facing each other honestly. And only one of them was prepared. The insider who chose me. Every empire falls the same way. Not from the outside. From someone opening a door inside. The email with no name. It arrived at 1:43 a.m. No subject line. No signature. Just one sentence. They're lying to the board. I have proof. Attached was a single encrypted file. I stared at the screen for a long time. This was the moment Jonathan Hale had warned me about. Power attracts truth. And betrayal. Sometimes both at once. Mark's rule. When I showed Mark the email the next morning, he didn't react. He just asked one question. Did you ask for this? No, I replied. Good, he said. Then it's real. He slid the laptop back toward me. Open it. Carefully. The first document. The file wasn't dramatic. No secret recordings. No explosive confessions. Just numbers. Internal forecasts. Altered projections. Adjusted timelines that never reached the board. Carter Holdings had been hiding delays. Not just from investors. From their own directors. I felt something cold settle in my chest. This wasn't mismanagement. This was intentional deception. The name behind the numbers. The metadata revealed a name. Victor Lang, Chief Financial Officer. 20 years with the company. My father's most trusted man. I remembered him. Quiet. Precise. Always watching. If Victor Lang was reaching out, it meant something inside Carter Holdings had finally broken. The meeting in the parking garage. Victor refused to meet in offices. Too many cameras. Too many ears. We met in an underground parking garage, 2 levels below a closed mall. He looked older than I remembered. Tired. I didn't think you'd answer, he said. I didn't think you'd reach out, I replied. He nodded. I tried to stop it, he said quietly. They didn't listen. They? I asked. Your mother, he said. And your brother. The truth comes out. Victor spoke slowly, carefully. Carter Holdings had been overstating liquidity for over a year, delaying vendor payments, borrowing short-term to cover long-term gaps. And Daniel had signed off on it. Why? I asked. Victor laughed bitterly. He wanted to look strong, he said. To your father. To the board. To himself. And my father? I asked. Victor's eyes dropped. He knows now, he said. But it's too late. The line Victor wouldn't cross. I won't lie to regulators, Victor said. I won't go to prison for their pride. So, why come to me?
I asked.
He met my eyes. Because you're the only one who understands this company, he said. And the only one they can't control. I didn't answer immediately. Then I said, "What do you want?" He exhaled. "A way out," he said. "And a chance to do one thing right." The document that changed everything. Victor handed me a flash drive. "This," he said, "is the real balance sheet. Not edited. Not polished.
Raw.
If it went public, Carter Holdings wouldn't collapse overnight. But leadership would. Immediately. Jonathan Hale's reaction. Jonathan listened without interrupting. When I finished, he leaned back. "This is checkmate," he said calmly. "No," I replied. "This is choice." He studied me. "You're still protecting them," he observed. "I'm protecting the truth," I said. "There's a difference. The trap we didn't set. We didn't leak the documents. We did something more dangerous. We waited. Pressure does more damage when people know it's coming." Inside Carter Holdings, cracks become fault lines. Victor wasn't the only one cracking. Mid-level executives started updating resumes. Project managers quietly quit.
Rumors spread.
Daniel tried to project confidence. It looked forced. My father stopped attending meetings. Margaret spoke more than ever. Too much. The board demands answers. An emergency board session was called. No advisors. No press. Just directors and leadership. Victor was asked directly, "Are the numbers accurate?" He looked at Daniel. Then at Margaret. Then he said,
"No."
Silence slammed the room. The call I never expected. That night, my father called again. His voice was different. Older. "Elena," he said softly. "Did you know?" "Yes," I replied. "You could destroy us," he said. I closed my eyes.
"You destroyed yourselves," I said.
I just stopped pretending otherwise. Margaret's last move. My mother wasn't done. She reached out to the press. Controlled leaks. Sympathetic narratives. Family dispute. Disgruntled former employee. My name wasn't mentioned, but I recognized the tone. She wanted to poison the well. My response. I did nothing publicly. Instead, I met Victor again. "Are you ready?" I asked. He nodded. The decision. Jonathan Hale made it official. He triggered a leadership review. Regulators were informed, quietly. The board was cornered. And for the first time, Carter Holdings couldn't blame the market. They had to blame themselves. The weight of it all. That night, alone in my apartment, I sat on the floor. Not celebrating. Not smiling. Just breathing. I hadn't wanted this. But I had chosen it. Because walking away would have meant lying to myself again. And I was done with that. The warning. A final message arrived on my phone. From an unknown number. "If this goes public, your mother will burn everything." I stared at the screen. I believed it. And that meant one thing. The end wouldn't be quiet. When the world is watching. Scandals don't explode. They leak. Slowly. Deliberately. Until there's nowhere left to stand. The first headline. It broke at 6:02 a.m. Not on the front page.
Not yet.
A small financial blog published a short article. Questions raised over Carter Holdings' financial transparency. No accusations. Just questions. That was enough. By 9 a.m., larger outlets were calling. By noon, the stock dipped. By evening, the word investigation appeared. Margaret's move. My mother reacted exactly how I knew she would. She went on offense. An exclusive interview. A carefully chosen journalist. She spoke about family values. Personal attacks. A bitter former insider. She didn't say my name. She didn't have to. The implication was clear. I watched the clip without emotion. She looked calm.
Too calm.
That meant fear. Daniel cracks on camera. Daniel wasn't as controlled. At a press briefing, someone asked the wrong question. "Were financial statements altered under your leadership?" He hesitated. Just half a second. That pause cost him everything. Clips spread instantly. Social media smelled blood. The board splits. Inside Carter Holdings, chaos replaced order. Some directors wanted transparency. Others wanted silence. Emergency votes. Shouting matches. Victor Lang sat quietly, waiting. Jonathan Hale's call. You still have time, Jonathan said, to end this cleanly.
How?
I asked. Step back, he said. Let it burn without your fingerprints. I thought about it. Then I said,
No.
Silence. Then, good, he replied. Now you're choosing justice, not revenge. Victor steps forward. At 3:17 p.m., Victor Lang submitted a formal disclosure. To regulators. To the board. With documents. Real documents. The ones that couldn't be explained away. Carter Holdings was officially under investigation. My father finally speaks. That night, my father appeared on television. Not confident. Not commanding. Just tired. We made mistakes, he said. I take responsibility. It was the first honest thing he'd said in years. And the last time he spoke publicly. Margaret's threat. She called me at midnight. No mask. No politeness. If you don't stop this, she said, I will destroy you. I held the phone away from my ear. You already tried, I said. This time will be different, she hissed. I'll tell them everything. I smiled. There's nothing left to tell, I replied. The truth is already louder than you. She hung up. The personal cost. Threats came in. Anonymous emails. Messages warning me to disappear. Security tightened. Mark insisted. You're not invisible anymore, he said. He was right. And that terrified me more than losing everything ever had. The choice revisited. Late that night, I opened the file again. The one Victor gave me. One document hadn't been used. An internal memo. Written years ago. By my mother. Recommending I be excluded from succession planning. Reason given. Emotionally unsuitable. Potential liability. I closed my eyes. This wasn't business. This was personal. I had one move left. If I released it, Margaret would fall publicly. If I didn't, she might escape with reputation intact. The line between revenge and justice. I called Jonathan. What happens if I release this? I asked. He didn't hesitate. She's finished, he said. But so is the idea that this was purely business. I stared at the city lights. I thought about the basement, the couch, the silence. And then, I deleted the file. The aftermath of Mercy. I didn't protect her. I protected myself. The investigation continued. Leadership resigned. Daniel stepped down. Margaret withdrew from public life. Without scandal. Without apology. The unexpected result. A week later, Victor Lang testified. Fully. Openly. The board accepted responsibility. Carter Holdings agreed to restructuring. Not collapse. But surrender. Jonathan's final test. You could have ended her, Jonathan said when we met again. I know, I replied. Why didn't you? I met his eyes. Because I didn't want to become her. He smiled. That, he said, is why you win. The quiet moment. One evening, my phone buzzed. A message from my father. Just 4 words. I should have listened. I didn't reply. Some truths don't need answers. Standing alone. I stood on my balcony, city below me. The world knew my name now. Not as a daughter. Not as a victim. But as a woman who refused to disappear. And the story wasn't over yet. After the fall, people think the end of a war is loud. It isn't. The real aftermath is quiet, filled with paperwork, empty offices, and people learning who they are, without power to hide behind. The day after resignations, Carter Holdings released a short statement. No names highlighted. No apologies framed as courage. Just facts. Asterisk leadership changes. Asterisk restructuring plan. Asterisk cooperation with regulators. The empire didn't burn. It shrunk. And shrinkage hurts worse than collapse. Daniel, without the spotlight. Daniel moved out of the city. No press conference. No farewell. Just gone. I heard he tried consulting. Clients didn't return calls. Turns out confidence isn't impressive when it's no longer backed by influence. For the first time in his life, he had to introduce himself. Without a family name doing the work, he didn't do well. My mother disappears. Margaret Carter stopped attending galas. Her charity boards quietly replaced her. Invitations slowed, then stopped. High society doesn't punish loudly. It forgets. And for someone like her, forgetting was worse than hate. My father steps down. My father resigned as chairman. Not publicly forced. Not celebrated. Just tired. I imagined him in the house. That once felt untouchable. Too big. Too quiet. A kingdom without subjects. The call that changed the tone. 2 months later, my phone rang. It was Daniel. I almost didn't answer. Almost. Elena, he said, voice low. I need to talk. I stayed silent. I don't have anyone else, he added. That sentence hit harder than anger ever could. Meeting as equals. We met in a small cafe. No suits. No assistants. Just two people who grew up in the same house and lived completely different lives. He looked smaller. I didn't know how bad it was, he said. I swear. I believed him. That didn't change anything. You always knew enough, I replied. You just didn't care. He nodded. I lost everything, he whispered. I stirred my coffee. No, I said. You lost protection. There's a difference. The first time he asked, he looked at me then. Really looked. Can you help me? He asked. There it was. Not demanded. Not assumed. Asked. I took a breath. Not like before, I said. Not as a sister cleaning up after you. He nodded slowly. I'll take anything. The terms. I leaned forward. I won't give you money, I said. I won't give you influence. What will you give me? He asked. A chance, I said, to learn how to stand without leaning. His eyes filled. Why? He asked. I paused. Because if I don't, I said, I'll always be reacting to the past. He swallowed. Thank you, he said. I didn't respond. Building something new. While they were learning how to live smaller, I was learning how to live bigger. Without noise. Jonathan Hale offered me a permanent role. Not symbolic. Not honorary. Real authority. I accepted, with conditions. No nepotism. No secrecy. Clean structures. He agreed. The new name. We launched quietly. A private investment firm. No legacy baggage. No family history. Just performance. People asked about the name. I chose it carefully. Clearline. Because I had learned the cost of blurred boundaries. The first time they begged. It didn't happen dramatically. No knees. No tears. Just paperwork. Carter Holdings, now reduced and restructured. Needed outside approval. For a refinancing move. Clearline's name appeared on the shortlist. My father requested a meeting. Not demanded. Requested. The meeting. He looked older than I remembered. Smaller. Elena, he said softly. Mr. Carter, I replied. He flinched. I never meant to, he began. I raised a hand. This meeting is about terms, I said. Not intentions. He nodded. They needed favorable conditions. Time. Flexibility. He looked at me. Please, he said. There it was. Not pride. Not authority. Just a man asking. The decision. I approved the deal. Clean. Fair. No punishment hidden inside. When he realized that, he looked confused. You're helping us, he said. I'm doing business, I replied. He studied me. You don't hate us, he said. No, I answered honestly. I outgrew you. Walking away whole. After the meeting, I didn't feel victory. I felt closure. The begging hadn't healed anything, but it had ended the illusion that I needed it to. The last message. That night, my mother sent me a text. One line. You won. I deleted it. This was never a competition. Looking forward, I stood in my office late that night. Glass walls. City lights. No family portraits. No inherited power. Just work earned honestly. I thought about the girl in the basement, the woman on the couch. They would never recognize this life.
And that was okay.
Because the story wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about becoming someone no one could erase again. The cost of becoming. Success changes the questions people ask you. At first, they ask how you did it. Later, they ask why you're still standing. And, eventually, they ask what it cost. The silence after closure. Closure doesn't arrive with fireworks. It arrives quietly, like a room finally empty. After everyone leaves. Clearline was thriving. Deals closing. Reputation solidifying. People listening when I spoke. And yet, something felt unfinished. Not broken. Just unresolved. Daniel's first fall on his own. Daniel kept his word. He didn't ask for money. Didn't ask for introductions. He took a junior role at a logistics startup. Long hours. Low pay. No recognition. 3 weeks in, he called me. I failed, he said. I didn't rush to comfort him.
How? I asked.
I made a decision without checking the data, he admitted. Cost the company a client. I nodded. Good, I said. Silence. That doesn't sound supportive, he said quietly. It's honest, I replied. Failure that teaches is expensive. Cheap failure teaches nothing. He exhaled. I'll fix it, he said. I believed him. Margaret's last attempt at control. My mother waited longer. She always did. When she finally moved, it was calculated. A mutual acquaintance called. She wants to reconcile, they said. For peace. I almost laughed. Peace had never interested her. Control had. Still, I agreed to meet. Public place. Neutral ground. The meeting with my mother. She arrived early. Perfect posture. Perfect smile. Elena, she said warmly. I'm proud of you. I waited. I think we both made mistakes, she continued. But family should heal. I studied her face. What do you want? I asked. Her smile tightened. I want to move on, she said. Together. I leaned back. Together doing what? I asked. She hesitated. Advising, she said carefully. Guidance. Connections. There it was. The instinct to attach herself to anything powerful again. No, I said gently. Her smile disappeared. You owe me respect, she snapped. I met her gaze. I owe you nothing, I said calmly. You spent my respect years ago. The threat without teeth. Her voice lowered. You think the world will always protect you? She asked. You think power lasts? I nodded. No, I said. But character does. She stood abruptly. This isn't over, she said. I smiled. For me, I replied, it ended a long time ago. The unexpected crisis. 2 weeks later, Clearline faced its first real test. A major partner pulled out. No warning. No explanation. Millions at risk. Mark called me immediately. This feels personal, he said. I agreed. And then the call came. From Margaret. The offer I didn't ask for. I can fix this, she said smoothly. I still have contacts. I closed my eyes.
At last.
The final lever. What's the price? I asked. Silence. Then, bring me in, she said. Officially. I felt the weight of it. This was her last card. If I said yes, I'd secure the deal, but compromise everything I built. If I said no, I'd risk losing it all. The hardest decision. I didn't answer immediately. I called Mark. If we lose this partner, I asked, can we survive? Yes, he said, but it will hurt. How badly? A lot. I stared at the city. Then I called my mother back. No, I said. The fallout. The partner left. Headlines followed. Speculation buzzed. Clearline took a hit. Staff worried. Investors asked questions. I stood in front of my team. We'll adjust, I said. We won't bend. Some left. Most stayed. The ones who stayed believed. Daniel's redemption begins. Weeks later, Daniel called again. Not to complain. To share. I fixed it, he said. The client came back. I smiled. That's how it starts, I said. I get it now, he added. No shortcuts. I closed my eyes. Finally. The quiet victory. Months passed. Clearline recovered, slower, cleaner, stronger. The loss had filtered out weak alliances. What remained
Was solid.
trust-based, real. The letter I never expected. One evening, a letter arrived. Handwritten. From my father. He didn't ask for anything. He didn't explain. He wrote, I built something big, but forgot to build something fair. You did both. I'm proud of you. I folded the letter carefully. Not as forgiveness. As acknowledgement. Becoming someone new. I stood alone in my office late that night. I realized something important. I no longer needed them to understand. I had crossed the line. From reaction to intention. From survival to purpose. The calm before the final turn. The story wasn't ending. It was narrowing. One last choice remained. Not about power. Not about family. But about who I would become. When no one was watching. And that choice would define everything that followed. Nothing left to take. The last conversations in our lives are rarely dramatic. They don't come with music, or raised voices, or perfectly timed tears. They come quietly, when there's nothing left to fight over. The message I didn't expect. It arrived early in the morning. A single line. I would like to see you. Just once. No signature. But I knew who it was. My mother, Margaret Carter, deciding to go. I didn't feel fear. I didn't feel anger. I felt still. Mark noticed me staring at my phone. You don't have to, he said. I know, I replied. But I want to. Not for her. For me. The place she chose. She chose the old family house. The one with tall windows and too much silence. The house where I learned how to disappear. I parked outside and sat for a moment, not gathering courage, letting go of expectation. Seeing her without armor. She looked smaller than I remembered. No makeup. No jewelry. No audience. Elena, she said softly. I didn't correct her tone. I didn't mirror it either. Margaret, I replied. She flinched. The attempt at explanation. She gestured toward the living room. We sat. This house feels empty now, she said. It always was, I replied calmly. She closed her eyes. I did what I thought was best, she said. For the family. For Daniel, I said. She didn't argue. That told me everything. The question she couldn't avoid. Did you ever love me? I asked. Not accusing. Just asking. She looked at her hands. I thought love meant preparing you, she said. The world is cruel to women. I nodded. It is, I said. That's why I needed support. Not erasure. Tears filled her eyes. I didn't know how, she whispered. I believed her. And it didn't change a thing. The apology that came too late. I'm sorry, she said. It wasn't theatrical. It wasn't clean. It was messy and human and late. I listened. Then I said the truth. I forgive you, I said. But forgiveness doesn't restore access. She looked up. I know, she said. That was the first time. She didn't try to negotiate. The final request. Will you stay? She asked quietly. For dinner? I stood. No, I said gently. This is where my life ended once. She nodded. I walked toward the door. Elena, she said. I turned. You didn't win, she said. You survived. I smiled. Yes, I replied. And then I chose who I became. Walking out. I didn't look back. I didn't need to. The house no longer held me. The last family thread. A week later, Daniel called. Not in crisis. Not asking. I got promoted, he said. Nothing big, but earned. I smiled. That's everything, I said. Thank you, he replied. For not carrying me. I closed my eyes. Carry yourself, I said. That's the point. The world moves on. Clearline grew steadily. Not explosively. Sustainably. I took the advisory role. I taught rooms full of powerful people. How systems break. When ego replaces accountability, they listened. Because I didn't speak from theory. I spoke from experience. Returning to the beginning. One evening, I went back to the place where I once slept on a couch with $237 and no future promised. Rachel's apartment. We laughed. We ordered cheap food. You knew you'd win, she said. I shook my head. No, I replied. I knew I wouldn't disappear. There's a difference. The name I chose. On official documents, my name still read Elena Carter. But in my life, it meant something else now. Not inheritance. Not obligation. Just a name. Attached to choices I made myself. The final truth. People still ask me if revenge was worth it. I tell them the truth. This was never about revenge. I say. It was about refusing to stay small. For people who needed me invisible. The last line. I stood alone one night. City lights reflecting in glass. I thought about the girl they erased. And the woman who stood here now. The distance between them wasn't money, or power, or success. It was permission. Permission I gave myself when no one else would.